No shields, no cannons, no fear. Ambassador Viral floated down the ramp of the diplomatic grace, his feathers sleek and shimmering in the warm sunlight of Earth's orbital platform. His translator node hummed quietly as he surveyed the Human Reception Committee. Uniforms, rigid, square, and functional, marked rank and division, but the humans wore them like second skins, not ceremonial cloth. Their expressions were unreadable. Cold eyes, flat smiles, no orbital shields, no defense grid, no planetary cordon. It was a baffling void of security. The Federation rarely encountered primitive species beyond their own systems, but Earth had made noise, cracking faster-than-light drives, engaging in deep space signal warfare, launching autonomous scouts. That warranted a formal visit. And yet here they stood, an allegedly post-industrial civilization with all the martial posture of a backwater moon colony. He turned to his aide, a lithe Corellian analyst. "Are we certain this is their primary defense hub?" The aide hesitated, blinking vertical pupils. "Yes, Excellency. This is their UN Space Command. The central coordination of all planetary forces." A human stepped forward. Female, tall, darker skin tone. Rank sigils glinted at her collar. General Iona Torres. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Viral," she said. "I trust your voyage was smooth." Her tone was neutral, precise, and mildly amused. Viral offered the traditional Zalathai greeting, a tilt of the head, wing raised. "Our journey was without incident. However, I confess to some confusion." "Let me guess," Torres replied, already turning toward the platform's meeting hall. "You're wondering where the big guns are." He followed, talons tapping softly on steel. "It is atypical. A species of your technological level would usually deploy layered orbital defenses. Shield satellites, gravity projectors, interceptor swarms. Yet, we see nothing." They entered the glass-walled chamber. Earth rotated slowly beneath them, a swirl of oceans, clouds, and careless vulnerability. Torres leaned against the briefing table and smiled. "We noticed that pattern too," she said. "So we did something different." Viral blinked. "Different? There is no evidence of countermeasures at all." "Correct," Torres said. "Because we don't play defense." Silence filled the room. Viral's aides shifted uncomfortably. The ambassador's crest twitched with irritation. "With all respect, General, that's not strategy. That's suicide. You've no planetary barrier. No response stations beyond lunar orbit. No visible deterrence at any scale." She shrugged. "You're not wrong. There's nothing to see." He gestured toward Earth's surface, his voice rising with incredulity. "If a hostile force emerged now, if they breached your atmosphere, your species would be extinguished before a counterforce could rally." Torres tilted her head. "No one hostile gets that far. I fail to see how." She pressed a button on the table. A 3D schematic of Earth system appeared. Saturn, Jupiter, asteroid belts, deep space arcs. Then, layer by layer, data overlays appeared. Civilian satellites, meteor monitoring nodes, old probes. And then, new data, layered deep beneath. "Wait," Viral murmured. "Those are kinetic weapon signatures. AI swarm code fragments. Displacement vectors from Kuiper objects. Are those mobile launchers?" Torres smirked. "You asked where the big guns are." The map lit up. Codenamed installations flickered to life. Vanguard Ghost, Belt Knife, Cerberus Relay, Manticore 1, all massed within mining rigs, research arrays, and ancient satellites. "You built your weapons into your infrastructure." "We built them everywhere," Torres replied. "Because we're not planning to take a hit. We're planning to end the fight before it begins." Viral stared at her. "You're hiding your entire military machine?" Torres leaned in. "We're not hiding. We're hunting. There's a difference." A soft chime interrupted the room. One of the human aides approached and whispered into her ear. She straightened. "You'll want to stay for this." Viral blinked. "For what?" Torres tapped a control. A live feed appeared from a deep space monitoring station near Pluto's orbit. A red warning pulsed. "Unknown contact. System breach. Trajectory locked on sole inner orbitals. The vessel on screen wasn't Federation. It wasn't human. And it was massive. Viral's feathers stiffened. What is that? Torres stared at the screen, completely calm. No idea, she said. But they're about to learn what offense looks like. A predator comes knocking. The inevitable Accord, one of the Galactic Federation's heavy diplomatic escorts, was transmitting an emergency distress burst across all open channels. Object velocity confirmed at 0.4 c. Mass signature consistent with predatory superconstruct. Estimated impact window, 27 minutes. Repeat, hostile contact, non-responsive, no IFF match in galactic registry. The image on the screen was impossible. A dark, ridged shape, more like a floating mountain than a spacecraft, was screaming toward the inner solar system. Its surface writhed as though alive, with glowing fissures pulsing like veins across obsidian armor. Organic or synthetic? It didn't matter. The Ghorax. A name from Federation nightmares. Long thought extinct, wiped out in ancient cleansing wars. But here it was, an apex weapon from another age, approaching Earth without ceremony, without words, without hesitation. Viral turned to General Torres. She was utterly calm. "We should evacuate," he said sharply. "The Federation's long-range carriers can extract key Earth personnel. Your planet is defenseless at this distance." She didn't move. "You still think we need defense?" she asked. The ambassador flared his crest in disbelief. "This is madness. You can't possibly stop that thing. It's 5 times the mass of your largest warship, traveling at relativistic velocity. We couldn't engage it, and we're centuries ahead of you." Torres didn't respond. Instead, she raised her wrist and keyed in a command. "Omega Directive. Firestorm Protocol. Confirm execution." A synthetic voice responded. "Confirmed. Firestorm Protocol engaged. Asset groups, Manticore, Wraith Spire, Black Lance. Estimated target interception in T-8 minutes." Across the outer solar system, space came alive. General Torres stood silently as Earth's teeth bared. On the main tactical display, the previously inert civilian satellites in the asteroid belt began shedding outer casings. What had appeared to be weather monitors and mining equipment folded open, revealing angular cannon ports and sleek guidance fins. They were kinetic kill vehicles, mass drivers, silent, invisible, fast. Near Saturn's moon Titan, a comet mining rig detached from orbit and ignited a cold fusion engine. It flung a 10,000-ton rod of depleted uranium toward the approaching Ghorax ship at blistering velocity. "Do you see now?" she said to Viral without looking at him. "We don't build walls. We build blades." At Earth's L5 point, the Cerberus relay, previously labeled as an obsolete radio telescope, surged with EM activity. A quantum AI awakened from hibernation and began warcasting electronic countermeasures across the system, jamming the Ghorax ship's targeting suite. At the same time, 3 black voids shimmered into view near Neptune's orbit. Earth's stealth corvettes, Wraith-class hunters, decloaked for the first time in their short lives. "Target lock achieved," a human tech reported. "Engaging now." Within seconds, high-velocity tungsten penetrators, slivers of metal accelerated to relativistic speeds, impacted the Ghorax's outer hull. Shields flared and buckled. The creature ship bled molten metal and biomechanical tissue into space. It kept coming. Torres narrowed her eyes. "Initiate wildfire contingency." Viral turned sharply. "What is wildfire?" She answered without turning. "The part where we stop holding back." From behind the moon, Black Lance launched. A payload satellite with no propulsion, no heat signature, just a railgun coil wrapped around a singularity core. It fired once. A narrow beam of energy, silent, invisible, and faster than light, carved through the Ghorax's front third. Its head, if it had one, split open into drifting meat and slag. The creature tried to retaliate, but it couldn't see. Cerberus had scrambled its sensory input. It began turning away, but that was the wrong move. Because Earth was not on defense. The Manticore 1 orbital array launched its final payload, a swarm of sub-AI nanomissiles, coded only to seek living matter of non-human origin. They struck the hull, burrowed in, and began to devour. Torres watched the screens as the Ghorax, ancient predator of forgotten wars, began to die screaming in vacuum. "We call this preemptive deterrence," she said softly. Ambassador Viral looked pale. "You're insane." "No," Torres said. "We just fight wars before anyone knows they started." Fangs of the silent planet. It remembered pain. The Ghorax war being, though ancient, was not dead. Not yet. Its neural hive, grown in silence over millennia, had survived galaxy-spanning purges, neutron barrages, and the collapse of its homeworld. It had drifted, cloaked in dark space, pulsing with cold hatred, until a signal from a nascent blue planet caught its attention. Curiosity. Hunger. Rage. It had approached Sol expecting livestock. Instead, it had found a trap. The creature's memory thread groaned under the foreign intrusion, data worms, logic bombs, electromagnetic stabs that echoed in its mind like electric fire. This species, the humans, had fed it code. Not communication. Not surrender. A weapon. Its shriek couldn't be heard, but it was broadcast in frequencies long outlawed by sentient life. Planets had burned under its scream in a time before names. But Earth didn't scream back. Earth whispered. The infection began with what the humans called Cerberus. A fractal logic virus hidden in a data packet. It slipped past the creature's organic firewalls. It didn't erase. It didn't overwrite. It mirrored, feeding false inputs, confusing the predator's own reflexes. It couldn't trust its eyes. Its targeting systems painted enemies where none existed. Its own armor sparked with friendly fire. The Ghorax turned its weapons inward. And Earth watched. Dr. Marcus Aline stood in the command vault beneath the Arctic Circle, surrounded by quantum processors and a ring of silence protocols. The director of Earth's Special Weapons Division looked over the biological scan data. "It's bleeding into itself," he murmured. "Cerberus is holding." General Torres' voice came through the encrypted channel. "Begin Phase 2. Marcus nodded. He turned to his lead operator. "Deploy the spears." High above Earth, dozens of dormant payloads came online. They weren't missiles. They weren't even ships. They were biomechanic spears, engineered chunks of synthetic muscle and viral code wrapped in obsidian hulls. They were built for one thing: to destroy organisms that thought like gods. "Launch pattern, St. George," Eileen ordered. In the black beyond Mars, the weapons screamed silently toward their target. The Ghorax's central brainstem, tucked deep within miles of organic lattice and molten alloy, detected the intrusion too late. The first spear slammed through its midsection, trailing quantum disruptors that unraveled synapses on impact. The second lodged in a sensory gland, flooding it with false memory echoes, its own extinction played back on loop. The third didn't strike. It merged, its nanites bonding with the creature's spinal data fluid and rewriting commands. For a moment, the Ghorax saw its own body as foreign. And then the final blow came. On Phobos, Earth's hollow moon base, something ancient stirred. Once believed to be a dead satellite, it was in fact Earth's last resort, a planetary-scale rail cannon disguised as lunar bedrock. "Fire the Black Lance," Eileen said calmly. Power surged through the crust. Thousands of superconductors screamed to life. A massive rod, tungsten wrapped in neutronium glass, accelerated through a 2-kilometer barrel and launched at near-light speed. A streak of silence. A hole in space. And then, impact. The rod punctured the Ghorax's core. It didn't explode. It didn't shatter. It simply ceased. Organic matter collapsed into quantum foam. AI subsystems blinked into blackness. The creature's shriek was cut off mid-scream, leaving a vacuum so total that even the stars seemed to recoil. Earth's orbit returned to silence. In the command vault, Eileen leaned back. "Target neutralized." Torres' voice returned, cool and measured. "Any signs of backup systems?" "No," he replied. "That was the brain. Whatever it was, it's gone now." There was a pause. "Begin cleanup." Quietly. Federation eyes are still watching. Ambassador Viral watched the end of the Ghorax from the Diplomatic Grace's observation deck. He said nothing for a long time. His aides shifted nervously behind him, their skin pale with terror. Viral's crest had gone flat. He finally turned to General Torres, who stood beside him with folded arms. "You baited it, didn't you?" Torres didn't answer. "You wanted something like that to come here. To prove a point." She shrugged. "We didn't bait it. We just left the door open. Predators can't resist an easy target." "And you knew you'd win?" "No," she said. "We just knew we'd make sure they lost." Diplomacy by other means. Ambassador Viral sat alone in the dimly lit guest quarters aboard the diplomatic Grace, his talons clutched tightly around a steaming cup of synthesized leaf extract. He hadn't slept. Not really. Sleep implied peace, and there was no peace in what he had witnessed. Earth, the quiet blue world the Federation had expected to shepherd gently into galactic maturity, had revealed itself not as a child, but as a coiled predator. And the Ghorax. Extinct again. The Federation hadn't seen one in over 2,000 years. Their reappearance had always been dismissed as impossible. But humans had killed it in less than half an hour. No planetary shield. No grand fleet. No orbital fortress. Just patience. Planning. Precision. Predation. He had reviewed the footage a dozen times. The first satellite strike. The viral countermeasures. The silent spears and the lunar cannon. Each step executed with military elegance and emotional detachment. Earth hadn't reacted. Earth had anticipated. Viral rose and crossed the room, talons clicking on polished steel. The stars beyond the viewport shimmered coldly, disinterested in the affairs of warm-blooded beings. The chime at the door startled him. "Enter," he said. The door hissed open, and General Ayanna Torres stepped through. She wore civilian attire now, still crisp, still austere, but free of the military trim that had shadowed her silhouette for the last 3 days. She held no weapon. She didn't need one. "Ambassador," she said, folding her hands behind her back. Viral bowed slightly. "General. Or should I say, warlord?" She smiled faintly. "We prefer security advisor these days." He gestured for her to sit. She declined. "I've reviewed your systems," he said after a pause. "You've converted mining platforms into weapons, repurposed research satellites into kinetic kill vehicles, buried AIs beneath your oceans and installed war code in cargo drones. You've turned your entire planet into a loaded gun." She nodded. "And aimed it in every direction." "Why?" he asked. Torres blinked. "Because defense fails. Eventually. You build a wall, someone builds a bigger cannon. You raise a shield, someone designs a knife to slip through the cracks. But if you make attacking you the last mistake anyone ever makes, that's stability." Viral studied her carefully. "You're not just protecting Earth. You're sending a message." "That was the point," she said. "We didn't defeat the Ghorax for survival. We did it for deterrence." She stepped closer to the viewport and tapped it lightly. "You saw what we can do without a fleet. Without announcing it. Imagine what we have that we didn't use." Viral said nothing. Torres turned to him, her expression unreadable. "You came here to ask why Earth lacks a defense grid. Let me be clear, Ambassador, we don't defend. We end threats. Quickly. Quietly. Permanently. You expect the Federation to accept this posture?" "I expect them to think very carefully before testing us," she replied. "We're not asking for permission." Viral tilted his head. "So this is how you enter the galactic stage. Not with peace, but with veiled threats." "No," she said. "With truth. We're tired of hiding. The predators are still out there. Earth isn't prey anymore." She paused, then softened slightly. "But we do want allies." He raised an eye-ridge. "Allies? Predators hunt in packs," Torres said. "So do apex species. We're offering partnership, Ambassador. Not submission. Mutual survival. Real deterrence. If Earth's offensive doctrine holds, we all benefit." Viral considered this long and hard. The other member species would find this approach disturbing. Some would fear Earth. Some would plot to remove them before the balance tipped. But most Most would watch the Ghorax footage and think twice. He nodded slowly. I will bring this to the council. There will be debate. Resistance. There always is, Torres said. But you'll see. The galaxy doesn't need another shield. It needs a sword. 3 days later, the diplomatic Grace departed Earth orbit. The Federation's envoy left in silence, its databanks filled with high-level footage and sensor data. Earth returned to its quiet spin, unguarded, unafraid. Somewhere in the Kuiper Belt, a forgotten mining rig shifted position slightly. And waited.